My name is Taylor Brock, and I will be doing my informative speech over a special interest of mine, which is horses. Ever since I was little, I've been riding horses. I've been stepped on by them, I've been knocked over, I've been thrown off and bitten by them, and all the works, but they've still been my favorite animal, and I've always been riding them and always been working with them. And even before, decades before and centuries before we were here, horses were used by people all over the world to help evolve and help change and develop as we are today. Descendants of horses lived all over the world. They even lived in North America, but they soon became extinct due to climate changes and a bunch of different factors that they think is what caused them. But luckily, they were still alive in West Asia, where they seem to still thrive. And the Sumerians in West Asia were the first ones to use horses to pull wagons and domesticated them. The use of horses spread from Greece to Egypt and China very quickly because they saw how reliable and how steady-tempered they were, and they were easy to domesticate, and they were you can take them anywhere and you could feed them anywhere. You didn't have to have special feed for them. You didn't have to have special breeding ways or anything like that. They were very easy, just like they quickly became as popular as ox and cows and stuff like that. The Spanish explorers were the ones that first brought horses back to North America, and these horses were obviously already domesticated, and they brought horses to the New World in about the 17th century when they went to settle there. Lots of the Mustangs that we know, the wild horses that are still running free right now, those are descendants of the Spanish imports that they lost or set free during the time that they were settled here. Mustangs, the word Mustang means stray or ownerless horse, which comes from the Spanish origin. As time went on in the 20th century, the wild horses thrived in North America. Their descendants had been there before, and it had leveled out, and they were able to thrive in their natural habitat where they used to be. And at the beginning of the 20th century, there were 1 to 2 million wild horses running free. That obviously quickly became a problem for farmers and those on the frontier that were trying to raise cattle and trying to compete with all of the wild horses for the land and the grass for the cattle. So mustanging, which was the capturing and transporting of wild horses, quickly became very popular, and farmers would kill them so their cattle didn't have to compete for grass as well. In the early 1970s, less than 20,000 wild horses were left in the wild. And the Wild Horse and Bureau Act of 1971 was enacted to protect the ones that were left, because there was very few left due to the mustanging and kicking them off and killing them. But as we domesticated them, the domesticated horses were still thriving, and we used them a lot in war. They pulled supply wagons, field artillery, they carried soldiers and generals into battle, they transported communication a lot faster, so that way they could get orders to and from places way faster than they normally would have been able to. They also fought with the cavalry, obviously, and other than during war, they were used in industry and in the industrial age a lot. The Pony Express was a good example of fast and communication and mail transport. They were also used for transporting people and pulling wagons. They were hauled goods and were even used for construction and heavy workloads and stuff like that people couldn't do by themselves. Today, though, horses are still used, but we just don't rely on them as much for survival on a day-to-day life like we used to. Now we use them in lots of more pleasure sort of events and lots of showing, so it's competition and pleasure seem to be the two biggest things we use them now. Like there's probably 20 plus showing events ranging from Western riding to English riding. For example, there's barrel racing, calf roping, cutting. Those are examples of some Western events. We also have eventing, endurance, pleasure driving, pole bending, polo racing, ranch sorting, show jumping, team pinning, team sorting, trail riding, vaulting, Western pleasure, working cow horse, all of those things, and even some of them are come from, like working cow horse comes from when horses were used on the ranch, and ranch sorting and calf tying and stuff like that all comes from when they were used on the frontier helping with cattle and everything. So we still have a sense of what we used to use them for, but now, because we have all of our new technology, it's more of pleasure and competition than it is for anything else. But riding and horses have they're still a very big part of people's lives, and they still have proven their use. Even though we don't rely on them, we still have that bond with them. And some horses are worth millions of dollars, some are worth nothing, but they're just as useful, and we still rely on them for more than anything, just like before. And I believe horses they're a part of our history, and they're going to be a part of our future for a long time to come as well.